So now that that is done, what we want to start doing is we want to start by creating our wires. And basically for our wires it's very straightforward. If we create a line and set everything to smooth, yeah, sorry I need to do this in time lapse, but it is a very time consuming thing. I am just creating a line and I'm just make sure that you place enough segments. And just with the line everything to smooth selected, I am just placing around all my vertices and just make sure that it is in between those clips over there that we place for wires. As you can see, I am just placing this and I'm just dropping that in there. And then I want to add a sweep modifier, set that to cylinder and pick the size that you like, which in my case was 0.07. And then if you go back to line and just select on our little tool that we can preview the sweep still, I basically just want to move around my line so that it looks realistic. I actually made it a little bit thinner to 0.06. So here, as you can see, I am moving down my line to make it a little bit thinner, and I am just placing it everywhere. I'm just selecting the vertices of the line and just having this nicely back together, as you can see. And I will basically need to do this for 8 lines, so as you can imagine it's a very time consuming process. Even with the time lapse it took me 15 minutes to do this. So yeah, basically this line I just copy it 3 times so that we have all those 4 holes selected, and then make sure that they do not intersect. That's very important. Just make sure that the lines do not intersect, because they also wouldn't do that in real life, of course. So right now I am just moving everything like this, and I am just giving it, try to give it a realistic but a nice position. So of course they are wires, so they are very flexible, but they are also not that strong, so they will be hanging a bit and they won't really support themselves a lot. So I'm just doing that also to number 3 over here. I'm just selecting all my wires basically like this, and I'm just placing that into the right position. And this one I want to set to the other side, so I just want to move this one over here, which also gives a nice effect. And now for number 4, you just want to also move that, make sure again that they do not intersect, because that's something we really can do. Up there on top I just want to also, like, sometimes nice to change one wire around a lot. Over here I'm just making this one like go all the way around over here, and I want to set this one here at the bottom below like this. I just want to move this slightly, and now I just want to copy this over, mirror this over to the other side, and just place them in the right position. And now I just want to do the exact same thing, but then guide all of them through all these clips and to the other side. So over here it's the exact same process again. I'm just picking my line, and this time I then make it go all the way along this side. And we already have some sort of a position, so I just want to move this back there like this. Yeah, then number 2, I want to do the same thing. Just move it around. Make sure that they don't intersect. Here I had a nice moment that they were like tangling around each other, but they were not intersecting, which always also gives a really nice effect. And this one I just want to move to the bottom, like over here. Next one. I just want to place to the other side again. like this. Just make sure that it is not clipping. And now already for the last one. So yeah, it is a very straightforward process, but yeah, it's just time consuming. But it will really add a lot. It will give a really nice effect to everything. Especially when we start to apply colors to it. It will just finalize the model. It will make more sense for a model like this to have like wires. So I'm just selecting random wires 2 by 2 and give them the same color materials as that we had for our to make our material map. Because basically now if we exported it, we just want to create a material and we just want to call it cable. And let's just make that red. And just play around with your specularity and gloss to get the color you want. Duplicate it, call it green, duplicate it, call it yellow, and duplicate it again, and just call it blue. And then assign it to the different wires. And as you can see, that really adds something. And then after that I already immediately went back to Substance Painter just to fix some final problems, like in the back I wanted to make the wire more bright. I am just making the nickel a bit more reflective. And then I'm just going back into Marmoset again to preview everything. Like over here. I'm just changing the height of our normal map details. And I'm just painting in a little bit more dirt, just on the dirt layer, because it was everything was looking a bit too clean to me. So right now I am adding a surface imperfections to a fill layer. Just a normal fill layer, just add a filter called surface imperfections, and in that fill layer only select height, because that will give us this effect. And then just play around with your imperfections until you got the amount you want. So yeah, make sure to only select height, because then it will just give some height information to this. Over here in the dust, I just want to paint out basically the dust on the center circles that we have, like this. So yeah, that's looking good. Export everything. If you go back to Marmoset, as you can see, it is really starting to come together. It's starting to look really cool. I'm just playing around again a bit with my scene, just finalizing the scene. And I think it's time for the very last things to do. I will be going to normal speed again, and let's finalize this model finally. And it is already looking pretty good, so let's go back to normal speed again. Okay, with rotation gone, if we press Ctrl R, we can actually scale our plane. That's actually way too big. It's not what I wanted. Roughly around here, it looks fine. Just change the intensity of our specular on our plane a bit more, because the lights at the back were a bit overwhelming. So with that done, let's go to our main camera, change a few small things. So let's change the bloom size a bit higher, vignetting a bit sharper. Now if we go here to focus, let's turn on depth of field. Let's try sticky focus. Let's set the focal distance back. Let's actually set the near blur to 0. And then set the focal distance back so that it is focusing out the plane. Now if we go back to sky, and we are just going to match our brightness with our plane as good as possible. Like this. So it like kind of blurs out. Let's see, let's go back to main camera. Let's try to have some sort of a near blur still. Okay, like this. That looks good. I actually want to set the sky still a bit darker, so it has some difference. So let's save our scene. Let's play one last time with like the occlusion size and everything. Point here should be fine. We have, if you want, the wireframe, as you can see. So here is our wireframe. Looks fairly low poly. Of course, we didn't optimize it perfectly, but oh well. Okay, so that's all done. Everything seems to work. This is the final result of this tutorial. So as a quick little recap, in this last volume we went over on how to prepare our model for baking. We then went into XNormal and baked our texture maps. Once we were done with that, we exported everything to Substance Painter, where we set up our project and created the entire texture for our model, and we ended up rendering everything in Marmoset Toolbag. I think the result is very nice. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from this tutorial course. My name is Emiel Sliggers, and thanks for watching 3dmotive.com.